Why hello there, Niceto here. I hope this video finds you well, and today I'm bringing you a review of this Reate PLXT. This is the latest variant of this nice that came out with this absolutely stunning blade of new, polished DLC over top of like a deep etched Damascus, which is pretty freaking crazy and pretty freaking stunning. And the fact that they rolled this out on their budget line is kind of crazy and spectacular. It is. It is gorgeous. I will give them that much. It is, of course, a pivot locking knife. That's the PL. It is on bearings. It is designed by Alvin Lee. Reate seems to work with him quite a bit. He is also a custom knife maker. It is steel liners, micarta scales, Damascus, etc., etc. Let's actually get into specs before I start talking about anything else. Also, if you like or would consider, I greatly appreciate it, liking and subscribing to the channel. Well, liking the video and subscribing to the channel. That would greatly assist me, and I want to see if I can get big enough, and if I can... how I'm doing. Like, if I get more subscribers, I'm going to take that as, like, I'm doing something right. So hopefully that's the case. If not, let me know what I'm not doing right, and I want to see what people want, right? So, 3 inches of blade, 7 inches overall, about 4 inches on the handle. So yeah, it's got pretty good ratios, right? At least size for the size. It is definitely a small knife, however. I'll straight up say that right before I even bring out our comparisons. This is unequivocally a small knife. Comparisons to the Civivi Conspirator. I almost said the Elementum first, but this is the Elementum, this is the Conspirator. Full size, small. And it is a hair shorter than the Elementum. Like, that much shorter than the Elementum. You can't even see it. It's so close. But it's definitely small. It is a small knife unequivocally. However, where it's not so small is thickness. It is a thick boy. In fact, it's like 33% thicker than the goddamn Elementum. In fact, it's noticeably thicker than the Conspirator as well. It is not tall, however. It is about as tall as the Elementum without its flipper tab. A little tiny bit taller than the Elementum without its flipper tab, but doesn't reach up to the height of the flipper tab on the Elementum. So it's compact in a lot of ways, but thickness is not one of those ways. So, double A battery comparison for grip length. And you have basically 1 1/3 double A battery for your standard grip, but you can definitely get up in here into this choil for, honestly, I mean, this is pretty much where I would consider safe gripping on this thing, so 2 double A batteries. It works out pretty nicely. Let us bring out the scale for weight. Hopefully it's going to play nice and you can actually see it. Sometimes the way I'm sitting at the angle and I'm looking at the screen of the phone, because I'm literally just using a phone and some lights, I have no secondary screen or anything like that. It's just I have to lift up and look over at the phone to see if I can actually see the stupid readout on the scale here. It's 3.71 ounces, not an ounce an inch, but honestly, it's not too heavy. I mean, it's got mechanics for all this extra stuff going on here, being a pivot lock, and it's got steel liners. They are heavily milled out, though. Actually, they are skeletonized. They just are straight up going straight through. So, I mean, the amount of thickness and material that's here, it's not that heavy. I guess there isn't a lot of material there. It would be heavy if there were, but they've skeletonized and done weight reduction. 600 thousandths, so 0.6 of an inch. Yeah, it's pretty thick. Pretty thick. I mean, the Elementum is like 450 thousandths, or 400, yeah, about that. 152 thousandths in the blade stock. That is quite thick. I'm not 100% sure why they did such a thick blade stock, especially on such a small knife. However, I guess because they wanted it to sort of have a balance with the handle. They didn't want to just become like completely consumed by these big, thick pieces of handle. Maybe. It is unnecessarily thick on the blade stock, though. Particularly for such a small knife. Behind the edge... Hey, don't slip off, don't slip off. $12,000 to $13,000 behind the edge. That is actually quite thin. They bring this thing down surprisingly thin. It cuts surprisingly well. It's got a decent edge on it, and yeah, the only thing is it definitely does get thick quickly because of how thick the blade stock is. But it does have a thin edge on it, so it should also be a relatively tough edge considering how much material is behind it. It's just an interesting way of doing things. You don't see it that often where it's this thick and getting down to that thin without like a hollow grind on it, so it's interesting. I like interesting. Do you like interesting? I hope so. I hope you're finding this interesting. And again, just like and subscribe. See? I made it into a plug. Hardware check. T8, T8, T8 on the pocket clip. I do know, however, underneath here are T6s. I do not know why they are T6s under there. Yeah, I mean, you put T8 on the outside and then T6s underneath. It made no sense. It makes no sense to me. I don't like T6s, and especially when you've already got T8 on everything else. It is what it is. I can't change that, but I'd like to see them change that. Because if you're going to put T8s here, just, you know, keep going with it. Especially if you can't even see them. It's not like you're screwing up the visuals or anything by putting a bigger tooled face of the screw in there. But it is what it is. I did, however, have... Okay, since we're done with the specs, I'll just transition to saying this is not the original one that I unboxed. The original one that I unboxed actually had some severe issues. First of all, it was pretty heavily off-center. It was ground. It was ground weird. You basically couldn't get rid of play and keep the actual action in the pivot. And I think it was the pocket clip screw, the outer screw, funny enough, was actually stripped out. The T8 was stripped out. The T6s, I actually got that knife apart because I wanted to see what the hell was going inside because it was just kind of weird. It just wasn't sitting right. So that one was a flub. I did report that it was a flub. I contacted, in fact, even Reate, the people who I contacted at Crane's Cutlery, where I got this, said asked me if I could like detail the actual issues, and I made them a little tiny video, and they sent it right off to Reate to report the issue. So that's nice to know that's a good thing. That's a good way of doing it, knowing that they took notice of this and that on some level that someone watched it, right, and cared enough to note the little flub that went on. And it was a crazy one, but I got this new one, and it is solid, no play, perfectly center, beautiful action, no stripped out screws. This one is perfect. In fact, like, really quite perfect, in fact. It's beautiful, the action and the just full-on thing of it. So, now we can actually start talking about the knife in depth. You got a drop point blade, you got a nice wedge up here, you have that thin edge, you have a Reate logo here that is, in my opinion, I don't know why, I don't like logos when they're too big. Reate tends to, even though it's the whole word, Reate logos don't bother me that much. They put them small, they tend to put them on the flats, like, and even though it's not just like a logo, which I prefer, just a single symbol, it's fine. I much prefer this over someone who puts a big logo down here. Every time. This is better. For me, and I think just objectively, it looks kind of better than just being on this. I mean, of course, that is subjective, but I'm going to call it objective because I'm right and you're wrong. No, no. There's jimping here that does nothing. There is an awesome plunge grind. Tons of life on this thing. The stop pin is up here and actually hits back here, so you have nothing getting in the way. And it is thumb stud only actuation, and these thumb studs, they look like they would be terrible. They are rounded, they are soft, they are very odd sort of barrels. Yeah, they work. I don't know why they work, but they work. You can slip off them for the reverse flick a little bit, but that's partially just getting used to such a small knife. It works. I can't complain about it, even though they're like, they shouldn't be as good as they are, they work. So, sure, why not, right? Now, of course, the actual elephant in the room that I've been avoiding is talking about this. I mean, that's not an elephant in the room. Well, it is the elephant in the room. It's pretty unnoticeable, but I wanted to put it off to torment people. So, yeah, this is absolutely stunning, this blade. I don't think my camera is doing it full justice. In person, it is just amazing. It is Damascus. I wish they would tell me what kind of Damascus. They just have Damascus listed. Most likely, considering, I mean, it's Reate, I would assume that they're using similar Damascus to most other places most other companies that use Damascus, in being a 9CR, 10CR maybe, or a VG10 or something. But this is pretty spectacular. Not only is it a very specific pattern, they all seem to have this ripple pattern on their Damascus, which probably ups the price even further for like costs and everything. Because normally, if you don't have a specific pattern on your Damascus and it's just Damascus, then that's one thing. But once you start getting into certain layering patterns and different things like that, it probably costs a bit more to people making or buying it. It is, of course, deep etched. You can actually feel some of these ripples just lightly, but they're there. It is DLC, as far as I know, actual DLC. It's claimed it's DLC. And it certainly seems like it, and it is almost mirror polished. It is stunning. This is like liquid metal. It is really, really attractive. I absolutely love this blade. I'm flabbergasted that Reate rolled it out more on, I think, this model, but not something way more expensive, but yeah, it's pretty darn stunning, and it's really well executed. Even on the knife that had the issues, the blade was absolutely gorgeous. Like, there was nothing wrong there, other than, well, the grind, but this is way more than you normally see, particularly at the price point where this is, I mean, it's not a budget knife by any means, but it is Reate's kind of budget territory, right? This is pretty crazy and absolutely gorgeous. And that is a sharp tip. I just touched that, and wow, that really, I didn't realize the tip was quite that sharp. Woo! That's a good thing. But took me by surprise there. Okay. So, obviously just enjoy the looking at the blade, because that's kind of what I do. Moving on, the pivot lock. The pivot lock, it is on bearings, and honestly, if you depress it fully and you can just let it sort of free drop, it's really quite smooth and consistent. Like, really good. Better than you'd, like, yeah, it feels appropriate for Reate, right? But you can also slightly depress it and just sort of let it, nice casual slow drop. And it feels very luxurious and very consistent and very quite nice, actually. It's, if you're going to do a pivot lock, execute it like this because it's good. The detent strength is, I mean, this is essentially a button lock, so the detent strength isn't the strongest, but it's actually not terrible either. It does feel like you're snapping it out. It does have some resistance to it. There is a secondary lock that only activates or should say, only can be activated in the open position. It locks the pivot from being depressed. It is a secondary safety. It does not work in the closed position. So just bear that in mind. It doesn't stay closed or anything. I think I mentioned this already, but steel liners, and they are heavily skeletonized. The backspacer, I'm not 100% sure what the backspacer is. It is not magnetic, is what it is. So it is either titanium or aluminum. I mean, at this price point, it could be aluminum. I would like it to be titanium. The pocket clip, I'm pretty positive, is titanium. There's no magnetism, and it really performs and feels like titanium. I'm not 100% sure about the backspacer. Just the finish on it and everything, it might be aluminum. Cool if it was titanium, but I'm not, like, super upset either. I mean, on more expensive knives, if it keeps down the price, I don't even mind seeing, like, steel liners. So over the titanium liners, it's just a personal preference. I'd rather pay, you know, if a titanium liner lock is $300 and you're paying $260 for a steel liner lock, I'm okay with that, as long as it's executed well. And this certainly is. The handle scales are micarta, obviously. Red and black micarta, and this feels not quite Reate's top of the mark micarta, but it feels really good. It does have a little bit of kind of, you can kind of see a little, like, yeah, see a little crackliness to it. And that'll probably go away as it breaks in and takes on some patina and everything like that, but it feels almost like Reate's top of the line micarta. I think it might be a step down, but it's still really good. It's really good micarta. It's really well done. It's executed. It feels good. It's soft. It's nice. It's pleasant and grippy to interact with. The handle scales, while there is a little bit of curvature and rounding here, right up here it gets mostly flat, but I think there's actually a tiny bit of contour in there. It's just super hard to tell and see. You can see just this tiniest little arc moving from there to there. So it could be flat, or it could be slightly contoured, or the contour could just be continuing on from there, because it definitely is rounded for part of it. So it is technically contoured. Yeah. And the pocket clip, as I said, titanium, definitely not deep carry. In fact, medium depth carry. However, it is pretty easy in and out of the pocket. It's a continuous rise. And these two screws here stand up and make for pretty easy grip and pinch points to pull out of the pocket. So, yeah, good on them there. I am liking how this red is taking its patina. It's definitely starting to go on this side a little bit faster than the other side, and it's getting very attractive looking. In fact, the knife on this side is going faster than the other side, or the black part of it is too. Interesting. Pocket clip is reversible. This is a pretty ambidextrous lock, frankly. Let's see. Yeah, even not being left-handed, I can still actuate that. I just have to get used to it a little bit. I mean, this lock is going to kind of feel weird for the left-handed people, because you kind of sits where you're going to interact with the knife and everything, and I'm definitely noticing with a little more awkward that I'm having a little bit of struggle with the thumb studs, but I'm doing it. Though for some reason I'm having more trouble with the thumb flick. Oh, there we go. I'm just not doing it right. That's part of it. So, reversible, pocket clip, filler tab, covered all the bases, basically. All but having a left-handed version. This is pretty ambidextrous. Love to see that. I do. And I also don't care, because I'm not left-handed. So, but to be fair to people, yeah, if I'm going to say something, then it's nice to see. Oh, yes. Alvin Lee's mark is right there. I have no idea what this mark is. Maybe someone can tell me what the hell that is. I have no idea. And this is a numbered limited run. This is 21 out of 400 of this. Maybe initial run, I don't know. ergos are also quite good because of how thick it is and everything. Even though this is barely getting my fingers for a 4-finger grip, I can do it, and I feel comfortable. The clip is not... I mean, the clip is super comfortable. I tend to go up like right about here from where I grip this thing, but you could probably even go up here and feel relatively safe. Like, I don't feel like I'm going to roll into the edge there. And I still have a tiny little gap between my hands, so... Yeah, there's a lot more room than you'd think on this thing. Honestly, it's a very interesting piece. It's kind of more roomy than you'd think, but thicker than you'd think it would need to be, but then it comes down thin, and it's doing everything. It's really kind of doing everything. So, what is the price point? This price point is $160. The base versions of these in Nitro V are $110, $115-ish, I believe. So, I'm not 100% sure how I feel about the price. Does it feel a little overpriced for what it is? I mean, if you look at other, like, actual budget knives, yes, but then you look at this steel and you're like, no, that's appropriate, because this is obviously gone above and beyond. In fact, hold on. Yeah. This is obviously gone above and beyond. It's absolutely crazy. But then it's built off of the original price point, which I think is a bit high. Yes, it's Reate quality and stuff like that, but the original one does not seem, well, I didn't have it, but it never looked to me like it justified its $115 price point. There just isn't quite enough there. It's a very, very well executed budget, lower end budget knife style. But it always seemed like an $80 knife or maybe a $90 knife. Not technically in my budget territory either, but it just felt like it was $20, $30 over where I would like to have seen it. Based on the price of the original and the upgrades done here, I can see how they got from, the 115-ish, maybe 120 to your 160 here pretty easily, considering how much actually went into this stinking blade, which is absolutely phenomenal. However, since the original was overpriced, is this a little bit overpriced? But at the same time, I have a hard time imagining this actually being on something that's less expensive than it is, this fit and finish and this execution. Or this steel and all that's been done. So I'm confused, is what I'm trying to say. I'm confused. I don't know where I sit on it. I'd like to see it at about 140. But I can't 100% say this doesn't sort of justify some of its price. So, I don't know. It's cool. I like it. I love the knife. I like it a lot more despite how small it is. I was kind of hoping they did the bigger one first, or maybe they may not even do any more like this. I don't know. That would be crazy because this is stunning, but it could also be a lot of work. I don't know. It is a limited run, so that could also, like, if they do a limited testing first run, that also tends to, raise the prices a little bit, maybe. So, there's a lot of variables here that I'm not 100% sure if this thing is appropriately priced or a little bit overpriced. All I know is it looks great, it functions, this one is great, and has been, and I really like it. So, I'm just going to end things here and leave your thoughts down below. What do you think would be more appropriate for this thing, or is this thing hitting the mark? It's a hard time. This is pretty spectacular, and there's a lot going on just in the blade, so I don't know. I'm going to end things here. Thank you for watching, whether you've made it to this point or not. Thank you for watching anyway. You won't hear my thanks, but you'll have them. Again, consider liking and subscribing, letting me know if I've not done something that you wanted to see to earn your subscription. That helps me greatly. I'm going to end again for the third time, and have a great day. See you later.